Loves, how are you? Welcome to day 18 of the Higher Self series. And many of you were asking about telepathic communication and your higher self, but also with your divine counterpart. So I've been sitting with this, and what I've actually come to realize is that there's lots of different forms of communication that happen within twin flame divine counterpart connections. And today, what we're going to dive into is the types of communication that are occurring while we are in silence in the physical world. So, this could be that you're in complete no communication, or it could be even that you're together and living together and in a state of union. But there is always those times, you know, even in those circumstances where there is quiet, where we are working within our own systems, but there's still communication happening within the energetics in the connection. So this can apply to any of you in any form of your stages of union. Okay. So, like we said, you guys were asking about telepathic communication. And this is a communication where you are literally having these conversations in your mind. So, you could literally be doing the dishes, having a conversation with your counterpart, and maybe even hearing them speaking back to you, or maybe you just energetically feel prompted to all of a sudden answer a question to them, like almost like if they've asked a question and you just start talking to them. These types of experiences are a form of telepathic communication. You may also have experienced kind of this energy of a knowing of what was going on with your counterpart, or what they were thinking, or what they are wanting to share with you. And you kind of just have this inner knowing. And then maybe you find out later during a conversation, an actual physical world conversation, that they were also receiving the thoughts you were sending as well. So, this is a form of telepathic communication. There's also experiences where you're experiencing or can experience the energy of teleportation, which is where you're actually feeling one another's physical energy in an actual, very viscerally physical way, in a tangible way, like a knowing that they're there with you, even though their physical, full 3D human body is not present in that moment, but you just have a very strong awareness or sense that you are with them. You may even feel like you're going about your day, but having a complete awareness that you are like walking alongside them through their day. So that can be like a form of teleportation. Or if they're going through a hard time and all of a sudden you feel your energy called in to support. Um, Depending on obviously where your connection is, this isn't, I'm saying that if you get called or pulled on that you have to go. This is more of an energy of alignment when you are in that space of feeling an open heartedness within your connection. So I just want to be clear too, there's also a difference between the pushing and pulling types of communication versus the very neutral, mutually supportive types of communication. And you know the difference because it happens in a very um flowing energy versus any pushing or pulling or pressure. Okay. The emotions during these types of communications can range, but when you're feeling in those higher energies, usually there is more of a neutral or loving energy. Okay. So, also a big area of twin flame divine counterpart communication is in dream time. So, this is a space where we're more obviously relaxed, and our subconscious can do quite a bit of processing for us, and it kind of takes out that part of our mind that wants to control the situation and just allows the subconscious to take over. And so dream time can be a very powerful time to communicate if you're feeling you may be struggling in the other areas, which is all okay. There's no judgment. This is a process, and none of it is meant to be forced. In fact, this is more about just having the awareness, because there's some of it that's probably already occurring, and maybe you're not realizing that's what it is, or this is kind of prompting or providing you with potentials so that you can know what to ask for or look for or intend for yourself. Okay. Always just simply ask for your higher self support and guidance. And again, if you're uncertain, you can simply just request the presence of your divine counterpart or offer them the invitation to communicate with you in these new and higher ways if you feel ready to actually do that in a way that isn't out of pressure or pulling or expectation. Okay, you can just simply offer when you feel ready and then provide the space and see if they present. It might happen right away and it might not happen for a while, but you can just allow that space in a very natural flowing way as you're ready. Okay. So sometimes in those dream conversations, you may remember them and have very clear clarity on the conversation. And you also may have conversations where you know that you're talking, but when you wake up, you're not really remembering any of it. You may also just have this sense that you were in those divine counterpart energies, or you may wake up with a song in your head, or a conversation in your head, or a thought in your mind that seems to have come out of nowhere. Those can sometimes be signs and signals that you're awakening out of a contact situation where you guys did meet in the quantum energetic spaces, okay, to process things. Like I've also spoke here on the channel, like when we're here creating these messages, we're working in those higher levels together to co-create. So it's very similar to what is happening within your divine counterpart connection. Okay. So there's also, it's a little bit different because I sat with the telepathic or 5D communication. And yes, there is some forms of similarities, but I've experienced them a bit different. So I wanted to at least give you a little bit of discernment in case you wanted it. But really, in all truth, if you're receiving the communication, it's not necessarily really super important for us to know exactly what it is. You can just allow yourself to experience it. But for me, I experienced the telepathic communication in a way where we were able to actually confirm those conversations in the real physical world afterwards, which was really powerful confirmation. But I've also had experiences where we were only communicating like at the 5D higher self level. And that for me was different in that his energy and essence would actually come and have a conversation with me, say, while I was in sort of a quiet meditative state and holding space for a conversation to take place. And it was very fascinating. There's been times where I've had dreams in dream conversations, and also times where I've had those 5D higher self communications when we weren't speaking in the physical world, but then actually I like on a very cool level, I actually received very shortly after those higher level dream time or higher self communications, actually received clear, direct confirmation in the physical world. Like something would come into my awareness where I would receive actual legitimate confirmation of what we had talked about in dream time. So things like that really help to solidify and strengthen the trust of this process, and that what I was receiving was actually legit and real. Even though I already did pretty much trust it, but getting those levels of confirmation was exceedingly powerful. And so this is where it can be important for you to truly build that trust with yourself, but also building trust with the world around you and how it's communicating with you. Okay, paying attention to those prompts that you're receiving when you're guided to do things and trusting that it is for a higher reason, because sometimes it literally was guidance that I was given, like days following those communications, that actually led me to the confirmation of the information in ways that I could have never imagined. It was literally just things that would have seemed like coincidence in the external or to an untrained eye, but I was very aware that the higher self energies were very much guiding everything that was occurring. Okay. And receiving these at different levels, and the confirmation in the physical world was occurring because I was open and I wasn't in resistance or fear or judgment of what I was receiving. I just allowed myself to be present and more as neutral as possible with what I was receiving. And even if things did come up that were triggering, I knew that those triggers were coming up for me to resolve within my system. Okay, so everything that's happening, all of the communication you are receiving in whatever ways, in whatever levels, are literally there to support your process and to support you in being able to move yourself into the tempered energy, no matter if you are masculine or feminine. Okay, because I think it's really important, because I've been seeing some of the messages and having some conversations. And I know that there have been some feminines that have been feeling very frustrated, like they're the only ones doing the work, or feeling like they have to be perfect in order to receive the love. And I understand where you're coming from. But I also want to share with you that the reason you're receiving it in that way, part of it is that it is mostly divine feminines that are watching these types of videos and asking for the content. So it tends to be directed to the divine feminines. And that is just not on this channel. It is probably in most twin flame or divine counterpart content that you're researching. It's not because the divine feminines are being targeted or told that they're the ones that have to do the work by themselves. It's more so intended to be a support for the divine feminines who are asking. And those of us that are sharing are here to support that for you. Okay. But yes, the divine masculines, and I know there's some here on the channel, so they can also attest in their own way that they are most certainly doing their work in their own way. And like I've said multiple times, there is a completely different experience for the masculines than the feminines for a specific reason. So it's really important to remember that divine masculines are not going to have the same exact path as you, divine feminines. But that does not mean that he's not experiencing things in his own way. It doesn't mean he's not doing his work. It doesn't mean he's not being called to his higher levels. It just means you might not be seeing it the way that you want to, because that is part of the higher power's way of allowing you to learn how to surrender to the higher power and let go of controlling what is happening with the divine masculine, and allowing yourself to drop into your inner truth. Okay. So you may be experiencing some form of all of these types of communication, or you may not be experiencing much at all. If you're concerned that you're not experiencing much, or maybe you had a very heightened experience with your counterpart and then there was silence in the energies. And I know I saw some of you say that it gets like unnerving, or you get kind of worried when it goes silent. So this is actually a recalibration phase. If this is genuinely your divine counterpart in twin flame, when it goes silent, that's actually when tremendous amounts of transformation are actually occurring for each of you and within your connection. So I know that it can feel kind of unnerving or unsettling, like things are stopping. But what is actually happening is what you've been asking for, which is to letting things recalibrate to those higher timelines, to those higher energies. And also, if by chance this isn't genuinely your twin flame, this is where things will resettle and probably resolve, and it'll make the space for your true counterpart or your true match to have space to come in. Okay. So if it goes into these silence modes, this is an opportunity to realize that major amounts of growth are happening either way. And it's also making space for you to prepare for that connection that you've been praying for. Okay. So there's lots of different types of communication that are happening. And in the silence is where each of you are learning to integrate and process the energies that have come up for you within these connections. All right. And if you're having those conversations in your mind, or you're processing things, or you're having dreams, or you're having silence, all of those are forms of communication where you're going to be able to get a pulse on where the energy is in your connection. And whatever you're feeling from your counterpart is an indicator of where you equally are on your journey. Okay. So it doesn't mean that it's always in the same exact manner, because I've also had that conversation with many of you. Well, if he's in a connection with a karmic partner or a third party and I'm single, that's not the same thing. You're right, it's not the same thing, but it is mirroring to you where you may be engaging in external relationships that are pulling you into the old patterns of codependency, or whatever it is that you think that he has going on in his connection. Whatever thoughts you have, whatever judgments you have, whatever ways you think that he might be doing in that connection, or you're trying to figure out why would he do that, I would like you to look at your life and how you're interacting with your family, with your coworkers, in just notice if there's any similarities to what you're thinking he's doing and why he's staying in those connections over there. Okay. And it can happen in many ways, but I can tell, even as I'm saying this, I can tell there's some resistance within this. And so I'm just going to encourage you, you don't have to have it all figured out. And this isn't a judgment against you. This isn't to say that it's your fault or that you have to do something different. You have to remember this is an opportunity to support you in being able to receive the love that you deserve by unconditionally loving yourself. And the divine masculine in that situation is offering you a mirror to see where you're still not fully pouring love into yourself. Okay, loves. And I know that that can kind of feel dissociating to some of you because you're applying what you know about a normal, typical relationship to a counterpart connection. And I'm going to tell you, it is not the same thing. And if you want to know the difference, and if you're curious or you're not sure if it's your divine counterpart or if it's just a catalyst, part of how you can find out is when you are triggered in any of these situations, as you work on your trigger, as you work on your part of the trigger or connection, if it is simply a catalyst, their energy, the lessons, the triggers will eventually fade away, and your draw to the connection will equally fade away. If it is genuinely a divine counterpart, twin flame connection, as you heal your triggers and work on tempering your energies and working to dissolve the distortions, that energy will actually become more loving and become stronger and support you in new ways. Okay. So if you're not there right now, that's okay. That's telling you this is your time to focus on learning how to unconditionally love yourself. This doesn't mean it's time to participate in the things that are hurting you. It means that it's actually time to unravel from the things that are hurting you and take that energy that you're bringing back to yourself and focus on loving yourself. If the counterpart is not showing up in your life in the way that you want them to, that is showing you exactly where to start showing up for yourself. Okay. Do you see what I mean by you are receiving constant communication from your divine counterpart? Constantly. If they're not showing up and they're with someone else, that is a form of communication. Okay, loves, that is a form of communication. And it's simply communicating to you that it's time for you to focus on loving yourself. Okay, loves. And if those situations are hurting you, it's an indicator to no longer participate in those patterns in any way, shape, or form in your life. So you take how that's making you feel and you start to apply healthy energetic boundaries to your life in all of the areas, not just in the counterpart connection, but in all of your relationships, in your health, in your well being, in your emotions, in your work, in your passion. You see what I mean? And so this is a process of transforming into the potential of who you are. No, it's not about needing to be perfect to receive love, but it is about teaching yourself how to love yourself, how to show up for yourself. And this is the most priceless part of these connections and of the communication that you are constantly being gifted from your divine counterpart, because they are constantly showing you where to love yourself more. And as that self love builds, as you protect yourself and show up for yourself and stabilize yourself, you are going to feel the difference in your connection and in all of the other areas of your life, which is a tremendous gift. Okay. And whether it's a catalyst twin, a karmic twin, your actual twin, all of them are catalysts. And I know that's a topic that you guys want me to dive into, and I obviously touched on it here. We'll see if something more wants to come with that. But the bottom line is that everything in our life is a catalyst. Everything is a potential for us to receive the information, take in what is supportive for us, transmute what doesn't feel correct, move through our triggers, learn how to self master, and allow ourselves to become the individual for ourselves that we've always wanted in a partner. When we can start showing up for ourselves in that essence without needing someone else to do it for us, now we're starting to realize that we're ready to deserve and bring into our life those next levels of what is meant for us. Okay. And I'm not saying that you don't deserve support. And yes, like I've said before, we do need one another to grow and prosper, but not in a needy way. So if you're in that needy type of energy, it's okay, but be aware of that. If you're looking outside of yourself to fill your cup or to feel loved, now it's time to drop into your silent communication and start to find ways to love those parts of yourself where you feel the pain in your body, in your emotions, in your soul. That's where you want to intend to bring your own love. And if you're not feeling that yet, that's okay. Remember, I said it starts with opening the intention. Okay. And then you start to get yourself supports in order to allow yourself to receive this. And a healed or healing nervous system is also an exceedingly important part of being able to receive these types of communication. Okay. From your higher self, from your divine counterpart. Because when our nervous system is overloaded or anxious or scattered or cloudy, then it's going to be more intense for that information to try to come through. So it's very good to find some form of practice for yourself to calm your nervous system, to hold space, to allow yourself to process past information so you have new space in your nervous system to receive new information. This is definitely stuff that I do in my groups and in my one-on-ones, but there's also other things that you can do. I highly recommend, if you're needing support for your nervous system, there is a therapy that massage therapists do called craniosacral therapy. I actually do offer that, but I know that a majority of you are not local here. But I encourage you to try to find somebody who offers that. I've actually referred a few of you out to that service in your area, and I've received multiple emails back stating how much you appreciate and how much it's helping you. So it's a very powerful therapy that's actually really gentle, but what it does is it supports the nervous system and the cerebrospinal fluid to gently be able to relax so that your physical, emotional, and spiritual body can begin to process any past trauma in a gentle way. Okay, any pent up emotions, any trauma or physical trauma that's stored in the body. This type of therapy can be supportive for that. Also, another one of my like favorite things that I keep right in my kitchen is called Bach Flower Rescue Remedy. And it's gentle, homeopathic. Obviously, you know, I'm not a doctor or that type of practitioner, but it is something that I've found it helps the body to process shock, anxiety, stress. I actually discovered it when my mom um, was dying and I was taking care of her a lot. And even when I was exhausted, like my nervous system was totally on overdrive. And as exhausted as I was, I couldn't sleep. But when I took that, it supported my nervous system and calming down enough so that I could rest, which of course supported my ability to deal with the stress of the situation in a better way. Okay. So that's one of my favorite remedies to do. I know there's lots of other ones like magnesium and calcium help to calm the nervous system. And if I think of any other ones, I'll definitely drop them over in the community tab. But I want you to know that there's lots of different types of support. Okay. Meditation is clearly a beautiful support to calm the nervous system. But sometimes, if the nervous system is already in overdrive, trying to sit down and do a meditation can add more overwhelm to the system. So, if that is the case, that might be where you want to get some support from a practitioner, whether it's massage or energy work or the craniosacral or whatever have you, to kind of help you move through some of the stagnant or backed up energy so that you can um, receive the benefits of what's wanting to come through. All right, loves, my meditation tab on the channel does have supports like that. But if you're not, and sometimes people like the guided meditations because that helps focus the nervous system. For some people, sometimes the words and the guidance can be a little bit overwhelming, but that's where like a channel on YouTube like Meditative Minds, where it's just um the energies and the beats and the tones, the that can be really supportive without the words to just help the nervous system kind of get into a meditative state. Just find one that resonates with you that day. Okay. There's lots and lots of beautiful things that we can do to prepare ourselves to receive these communications and to be able to absorb them. But if any of what I talked about today triggered you or stressed you out, I just want you to take some deep breaths for yourself and realize this video is actually intended to support you. And if you're not there right now, it is all okay, loves. It's all okay. And I'm here if you do need some support. And if you would like me to do a meditation around this, let me know. Drop that in the comments and we'll see what comes through. All right. But with all of this, I hope this was helpful. Like I've said, there's lots and lots of ways that the world around you is communicating with you, and your divine counterpart is always communicating with you. And so it's just having the space for yourself to be able to absorb and process that. And if you're not right there in this moment, that's okay. This is actually the opportunity to give yourself the space and to the grace to know that it's okay. It's okay that you're not there right in this moment. It's okay to take some deep breaths and know that if you want to, you can work with this and learn how to do it. And if it feels right to your soul through the process, giving yourself the space and the grace to learn these, it'll support you in all of the other areas of your life. And that this isn't a race and it isn't a competition. It's actually a really gorgeous, beautiful opportunity to evolve and transform and to learn about who you are as a being and to start to learn how to tap into these abilities, and also understanding that maybe you don't have full access to that right now because of the past trauma in your system, or because of the way the ancestors had to shut down their abilities in order to survive, when these types of ways of being were seen as witchery. Even though it's just our natural nature in our true state when we have healed, relaxed nervous systems. And know that this is the process, it's the journey that we're on. And you're doing beautiful, loves. Just the fact that you're here, allowing yourself to take in this information is huge. So watch it a few times. Do whatever you need to do. Give yourself space. Only listen to parts of it and pause and work on that. Like I said, if there is those feelings like you're not sure what to do, that's okay. Ask for your higher self to guide you to the supports that you need. And like I've said to you, some of you guys in the comments, even if you don't feel like you're connected to your higher self brought you here. So it's very, very clearly guiding you in some new and deeper ways. All right, loves, I will talk to you soon. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. I'm going to drop some information about what I have coming up in the playlist to the higher self embodiment in the pinned comment. All right, loves, hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.